Well, what does make you the right person to represent the people of CD7 and of Southern Arizona?
Well, at this point in time, where we are as a society is we have a homeless crisis. We have a crime crisis. We have a drug pandemic that's impacting this community. And between Adelita and the I'm the one most capable and have the experience to address those things as I have overcome those things. I've spent so much time down at the border. The border is has been overwhelmed with people coming in here. They've been trafficking, human trafficking, drug trafficking. It's come to almost a complete halt now with the military on the border. I don't think we need military on the border. I think we just need to finish the wall and keep an eye on the border. And the reason I say finish the wall, and the biggest reason is we need to know who's coming into our country, period. The wall is only to guide people to the ports, to our port, entry ports. And I don't see the lack of a wall is helping us with that. I have witnessed on Jim Chilton. He's the rancher up in. Okay, Jim Chilton has cameras on trail cams. He's got 4 of them. He records all the people coming across the border and across his property. All drug runners. Every one of them are drug runners. I've seen the backpacks. They leave them at my dad's property. These are very heavy duty backpacks. They're homemade, obviously made in a big factory somewhere, and they're so heavy duty, they're designed to carry large amounts of weight in them. Everyone's got the same design backpack, so it's made by the same people. That tells you that it's from the cartel. And I've looked at that and I've debated with people on this. They say all the drugs are coming through the port. I do not believe the drugs are all coming through the port. And I'll tell you why. This is this isn't a fact, it's just my opinion. And it's probably a very good opinion from a man that's been on the border for the last 2 years. They always bust people coming across the border with large quantities of pills.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, in a pill, there's not that much fentanyl in a pill. That's why it's a pill. They cut it, put it into a pill so that it doesn't kill the person that takes it. And they catch these big, large quantities of pill at the border. Not very many, not very much drug in all reality, just a lot of pills. The people that are coming across the border where there is no port of authority, no port of authority, no wall to deter them from coming across, they're coming across with large backpacks filled with, I believe, pure fentanyl. So there's a whole lot more drugs in one little backpack, and all of 6 guys have their own backpack, than in 2 of those cars full of pills. So I believe those cars that come through get busted so that everyone's attention and focus is on look at all the drugs coming through the ports. They're not coming over here; they're all coming through the ports. But there's not that much drugs in those pills.
So, how would you not drag, but direct more people, not just by the wall, but how would you direct more people to those ports? Since it would take it like a couple years to build a wall or to finish the wall. It took several years to get what's done now done, so it
Yep.
would take years to finish it. In the meantime, how would you help secure the border in that process, that time period?
Well, that's why they get the military down there, and I don't know that we need to have that much military down there. Drones would be a good way to do it, and they have drones that run for hours and hours that can detect people that are coming from far off to give the border patrol time to get there to deter them from coming through that. Eventually, they would have to find a different way to go because the drones would stop them. I would use that while we finish the wall. But we definitely need to finish the wall because we need to make sure that everyone that comes there goes to a port. Eventually, everyone would know there's a wall. You're not going to get through the wall. You might as well head straight to the port if you're going to go ask for asylum, not across the wall. Um, and them coming through the end of the wall caused a lot of problems because I witnessed this while I was traveling the wall and spending a lot of time. The Border Patrol would go pick these people up, and it's about 14 miles from Sassabee
Mm-hmm.
to the end of the wall. they would pick them up there, and they would all drive them back over. Then they process them at the Border Patrol station. And then they would take them to 3 points, load them up on buses, and then take them to the refugee camps or migrant camps. Well, I believe that was causing us a lot of problems, because why they were doing that is when the 6 guys with backpacks would run across the border, because the Border Patrol were busy. And that's when Jim Chilton's cameras, and he's given this to everyone. He gave it to the congressional leaders, show all these videos. As a matter of fact, I believe I was given a clip of them.
Would I be able to get that clip as well?
Yes, you would.
Okay, I'm
Yep.
going to ask you for that and a few other things that I'm keeping a mental note of. Keep going, I apologize. So, while that was happening, Chilton's cameras picked up the people in the backpacks, 6 or
Yep.
so guys.
Yep, and every day, all day long, he was getting these. Now he says it stopped, because I still talk to him. He's a big supporter of mine. But he had all those cameras showing the guys coming across, and he took them to the congressional leaders with Juan Ciscomani and all them. They met, and I was there for both of them. And what happened there is they come across that border, they get across Mr. Chilton's land, then they wound up at my dad's property, where all the empty backpacks were left. During that period of the Biden administration, there was no Border Patrol agents at the checkpoint at Arivaca, where you go from Arivaca, you go from there to Tucson, there's a checkpoint. Absolutely unmanned, wide open. So it was really easy for them to get the drugs through there and on into our communities. And I'm sure they take them somewhere where they could make the fentanyl pills.
And then I'm going to ask you a question that's going to sound a little dumb, but why is it such a large focus to curb drugs coming into this country for you?
Because it's impacting our homeless and killing our people.
And that's a huge issue for you. We first met.
That's a huge issue.
Walking around, and you were talking to people in Tucson who were living on the streets. One, why do you do that? And two, why is this such a large issue for you?
Well, yeah, you're right. We had met the one night I was out talking to the homeless and visiting, and that's when you and I first met.
Yes, because I was doing the same thing for different reasons.
Yeah,
yeah.
Mine's because of my passion, because I had come from that. Yeah, I wasn't always a business owner and guy running for Congress. I went through a period of my life where I was in a great depression, and I tried a drug called crystal meth and crack cocaine, and I became addicted, and I became one of those homeless in the streets. I was blessed with an opportunity to get off those drugs. I did. And then I got my life back and went to work for a company, and I built myself a life. And I'm a Christian, so sorry.
No, you're okay. Take your time. I know this isn't easy.
So I've come back to help them. I want to bring them out of the streets.
Why is that your job? Why is that the job of the government or of anyone who's running for office?
I went through a wrongful conviction. I've been through a lot through my life. I had to overcome a lot in my life. And after I did all that and built my company and then bought a company I worked for, and I accomplished all these things, I was driving around Tucson. And I was looking at the homeless, but I was talking to God and just asked him why he put me through all this. Why did I go down this path? What was the purpose? And then I was looking at the homeless, and I just felt that was my purpose, that I could be the person to stop the drugs, because I had been a part of that. I know how that runs. I know how it functions. I know how the cartels work. And there's a lot of people in our community, and you would never know them because they're great people. They go to church. They have children. They're wonderful people. But they're also supplying all the drugs. And There's so many things that I know and I understand that could put an end to this part. But the biggest thing is I know how to go from homelessness to success. And I want to get Washington to fund the program so that we can start bringing them from the streets to a work, to give them back their self-esteem. You know, we got to detox them, give them a purpose in life, give them a chance to earn a paycheck so they can get their self-esteem back, and then move them. I mean, I have a whole plan laid out. One is we need to get an apartment complex, fix it up. So when these people finish their jobs, once they've overcome their addictions, gotten their self-esteem back, gotten themselves jobs, they save up some money and they use that money to purchase an apartment inside the complex that the city or the state owns. Say $10,000, they buy this apartment. They have to pay their electric, everything, their own responsibilities. And they wind up owning it. They'll treat it better because they own it. They earned it. And then when they're ready to go buy a home, then as long as that apartment's in the same condition they got it from, they can sell it back to the city or the state for the same amount of money, which gives them the money to make a down payment on their house. And that's how we take them from the streets to a home. Yep. And here's the reason, and it is the right thing to do, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people think it's cruel. I don't see anything cruel about it. You know what I see is cruel? Is giving a guy a sandwich and then giving him a bed to sleep in, because essentially you just gave them a full stomach to take their fentanyl and a bed to die in. Okay? We're just helping them to the grave. I don't want to help them to the grave. I want to help them to a future. And that's going to take tough love. And it's much like a parent and a child. I mean, are you going to let your child keep telling you no? Or are you going to let your child do things that you know are going to hurt them? No, you're going to stop them. You're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that they don't choose that path. So you give them a choice that they know they're going to choose the right one because they don't want what mom's going to do in the bad one. You know, we guide them into the correct choice. And I see them, anything short of that is cruel. I truly see anything that's opposite of that is cruel because you are only helping them die. Oh yeah.
So for the rest of CD7, I'm going to go back to that core question of why you, not just over Adelita, but like if every single person threw their hat in the ring, why are you the person that is the best representative for all of us?
Well, that's an easy one. I'm a working man. Okay? I built a business. I've been to prison. I've been homeless. I've been hooked on drugs. I've walked in the shoes of just about everyone out there except politicians. I've never been a politician, never had a desire to be a politician. But what I am is a representative of everybody in my district. And that's what a representative is supposed to be. When our country was first founded, they weren't founded by politicians. It was founded by farmers. It was founded by workers. There was no such thing as I'm going to go to school and be a politician. You just went in and represented your community and you knew what your community needed and you fought to get your community the things that they needed. That's what a politician's supposed to do. Well, that's not, I shouldn't say politician. It's what a representative's supposed to do. They're supposed to represent the constituents. We now have politicians that have no idea what their constituents want or need because they're politicians. They've never worked. They've never built a business. They've never run a business. That is the difference between Adelita and I. She's just never built anything. I built my business from the ground up. I use my business to give back and help the community. I hire the homeless. I give them a second chance. I care about my community, and I do it from my own pocket. So,
How is building a business going to help you in running, let's say you do end up going to Washington? How would that experience of starting and running a business help you in Congress?
negotiations. It's what I do in my business. I negotiate. Everything I do is a negotiation. When I go do a job and I do an estimate, I sit down and I give a price. And generally, they come back and they want to know, well, what can I do here or there or there? Everything's a negotiation. And not everyone walks away from a negotiation feeling good about the negotiation. If they did, it wouldn't have been a good negotiation. So that's one aspect. Two, I understand how the economy works, which a politician doesn't. They think the economy is, let's just raise taxes on you so that you have a harder time succeeding than paying your bills, but they can go ahead and look good to their constituents because they'll take care of these programs they want to fund. And that's not really helping our community. It's hurting us because the more harm you do to small businesses, the more you tax small businesses, the more small businesses wind up closing their doors. And you eventually run out of a tax base. Where are you going to get your taxes? And last, the 414,
Yes.
we had 414, okay? They're giving away free buses. Everyone's riding the buses, not doing a lot of good for our community because they're having knife fights and stabbings, and we're having hatchet attacks. I mean, yeah, and our children all ride those buses that they're all smoking fentanyl on. I mean, you go over to Fort Low and Oracle, what do you see there? Everybody's smoking fentanyl right there at the bus stop. I've stood there and talked to them. You've been out and talked to the homeless. They're all out there. They got their foil, their lighter, and a straw in their mouth, just smoking the fentanyl. Our kids are watching this. I mean, that's what our kids are living. This is the environment our kids are growing up in. It's not okay. And there's a lot of parents out there that don't think this is okay. And it's the private schools, which are our private schools are ranked #1 in the nation. Parents have pulled their kids out of our public schools, which are 50th in the nation, because they're not educating our kids. And one of the biggest things that I have a problem with are they're teaching our children about politics. It's become a political place instead of an educational place. And I don't know how you feel, but I feel like my children should have no idea what political party my teacher is part of, or my children's teachers are part of. They should not have any idea what party their teacher belongs to. And we don't have that anymore. Their teachers are pretty outspoken on what our children should be voting. And that's why people are pulling them out of the public schools fast, because they don't need to be learning that stuff. What they need to do is learn reading, writing, and arithmetics. They don't need to be learning about, why a boy should go into a girl's bathroom. These are things that should not be put in our kids' brains.
How is that a responsibility of the federal government, especially if the goal of the current administration is to help return education to the states?
The federal government, what do you mean?
Like,
Oh,
how is that issue of like teachers and politics in schools, an issue of the federal government? If
oh, it shouldn't be.
okay,
Yeah, it shouldn't be. No, I was just telling you my opinion on it all.
just wanted to
Yeah.
see, make sure that we were on the
Yeah.
same page. Well,
Yeah.
that's
No, that is no longer part of the federal government. Shouldn't be part of the federal government. It should be based off the local government, and the decision is of the people. And it should, you know what? They should have vote on these kind of things with the public, and they don't. The school board decides all these things, and our school board is, well, my opponent has been part of the school board for 20 years.
yeah.
So She had a lot to do with our school ranking 50th in the nation, but we need to change that around. But that's why the charter schools, the public schools and charter schools are gone through the rough, because parents are pulling their kids out of the public schools and putting them in the private schools.
But also, while you did say that your lack of experience in as like a politician could be beneficial, there were some comments that we've gotten on prior articles about people who aren't career politicians running for office that are asking about their experience. So, do you feel that running against someone who has spent their entire life in politics, like school board, board of supervisors, and then running for this, could put you at a slight disadvantage, or do you just see it as an advantage?
I see it as an advantage, and I'll tell you why. Because a lot of people are beginning to see this. This is the good old boy club. You got politicians that have been in there for years. They're connected with all the other politicians. They're not really connected with their communities at all. They're connected with their friends that are all politicians. And I see these politicians getting into Washington and other programs, and they no longer care about some may have cared about and wanted to really do something for the community. A person that's been a career politician, I don't see it that way, because they know exactly where they are and they already have all the connections. But there are people that want to get into Washington to do something for the community, and they wind up getting into Washington, and pretty soon they get connected with Washington and they start making deals that help their friends in Washington instead of the people in the community, which is why I believe there should be term limits to stop that from happening. But that's the problem I see with these career politicians. They're all connected with all the other politicians, and they're not caring about what we, the people, need. They're caring about what their buddies need. And that's why I think it's better that someone that doesn't have the connection with the politicians like that are in office representing we, the people. Because for at least the next 6 years, I'm not going to really know anybody, and I'm only going to be voting for and asking for things that help Arizona. Now, after that, I wind up forming relationships, and it's probably time to get out of there. I mean, that's why I believe in term limits. That's just a perfect example of why we need term limits. So,
Okay, so how would you avoid, or term limits just like base, even if they're not put into effect, how would you ensure that you didn't end up falling down that same trap of getting your buddies in Washington and becoming beholden to their needs instead of just the people of CD7?
have you met my wife?
No.
Oh, she would kill me.
Okay.
She,
There we go.
she 3 terms. That's all I'm allowed to do, and after that, it's done. I mean, her and I like to travel and go fishing, and that's what. She's really upset that I did this, because we had taken a trip once and we had a blast. We just traveled around and went fishing, and that's what we were going to do. We were going to retire and go fishing. Got my company set up enough that I could have. We were going to get an RV and travel for a few weeks at a time, then come back and then go off and travel again for a few weeks while my son ran the company, and until he was ready that I could just hand it over to him. But instead, I said, I had that drive around town, and all of a sudden I said, I need to run for Congress. And I came home and told my wife, because she was getting ready to take this vacation and travel. And I came in and said, well, I'm running for United States Congress. And she was so upset. I'm telling you, she goes, you're not even going to ask me. You're just telling me. I said, this is what I'm doing. And so.
Has she come around?
She's worked her butt off. Does she want me to do this? No. Is she going to stand behind me? Absolutely. And we're gonna fight. And this is it. This is my last. I'm pretty sure this is it. I mean, unless for some miraculous reason, I was going to continue. I don't have the money to do this. I'm the only candidate that has money in this race, the only one that wasn't backed by PACs and special interest groups. And I know my opponent says she wasn't backed by any PACs, but we all know that. I read the article. Actually, there was an article written that made me look really good because they said Butierez is the only one with money that's not backed with anything. He's funded his own campaign. And I tell you what, I'm not going to throw any more money at it. Now, if someone else wants to get in and back me to continue running, that would be another story. But at this point, I've given all. I mean, I've given a lot for my community, and that's where I'm at on it. I mean, I've given all my time, all my energy, my money, you know, and I'm not going to give any more of my money.
I have 4 questions for you. I was going to ask this one second to last, but you kind of brought it up. So, where are most of your funds coming from? One, and two, I guess you just answered this. I was going to say, what are you going to do if you don't get any more donations? But
I haven't had very many donations. I mean, I've had a few good ones. You know, Mr. Chilton's been behind me. He's helped me out. I've had some people that have donated, a lot of small donations, but for the most part, I spent over $200,000.
of your own money?
Mhm.
Dang.
So, and you know, I done all I can do. So this is it. I win. I win. I don't. I don't. And my wife, you know, she's kind of she's not a quitter. She's a fighter, and she doesn't like to lose. But she is deep down inside thinking, you know what? If he loses, we get to go fishing.
We get to go on vacation. Okay, so one big thing is on your sign, the 2 slogans that have jumped out at me every time I've driven past, because you've got those big ones right down the middle of Speedway, and I
Yep.
always look at them. You can't miss it.
Yep.
The first one is, it's time for a change. What is that change that you're looking for? What is that change? And why is now the time for it? I know this sounds
Yep.
kind of like elementary, but
That's
kind of the theme of your campaign.
Well, I tell you what, we have been run by progressivism for decades. Our Raul Grijalva, our late congressman, was a progressive, and he was a nice guy. You know, he and I didn't see eye to eye on policy, but he gave to the community, and you got to respect that. But he and I did not agree on anything policy-wise. Our mayor is a progressive. Board of Supervisors is progressive. Our city council is a progressive. My opponent is a progressive. Now, and a lot of people are saying, oh, they're communists. Well, so I've read up on what a progressive is, and you know, so they're not communists, not far. Communism is that the government owns all private property, okay, and they give you what they want to give you. Progressivism lets you keep your private property like your business. They just regulate it and tax you to death to pay for all their special interest programs. And that is what's just, I'm watching our city decay. They can't afford the city bus. Why do you think they want a 414 tax? Because they can't continue to fund all their programs and without our money. So they're going to continue to raise taxes. And the change is we got to stop these taxes. We got to stop these programs. We got to stop funding them. And I have no power over local government, but if I step up and I win this race and I do something for our community, because this is the important part, only have 10 months. They will have another election. And I know there's a lot of Democrats out there that really don't want me. They don't want her. That they are actually talking about electing me so that they can have a primary next year, because if Adelita wins, they won't have another primary until she dies, and they know that, and they don't really want her. So they could elect me, which would give them a primary in 10 months. But if I go to Washington and I start doing stuff for Arizona and I bring in resources and change into South Tucson, which I have actually been doing, even though I'm not an elected official, and South Tucson's been talking about what all I've done for South Tucson and Tucson Southside. I did the church. I went over and had the press conference over at the Food City and got the mayor to admit that the homeless was the reason that the Food City was ultimately closing. And that was a big impact. And now I'm hearing like an officer over there told me that they got $1 million, and they said, you're credited for that, Mr. Butierez, for doing what you did. You brought attention to it. And, I don't know whether it was or not, but a lot of people believe that's why the casino gave them $1 million to help with those things that we raised on the media, the homelessness and the drugs, to address those issues. They also put in there to address the ICE raids.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm sitting there going, there haven't been any ICE raids.
Not
There
just
hasn't been
Butierez,
one.
that's true.
There hasn't been an ICE raid anywhere in CD7. Nowhere across CD7. I've Googled it, I looked it up, and there's no, but they're going to spend money on getting detection for ICE raids. If you Google ICE raids, they come up with the one where they were doing the drug bust on the south side, and they thought it was an ICE raid, and they almost screwed it up.
I remember that, I was there.
And the other one is they graffitied the Border Patrol office over on.
I was also there.
Those are, if you Google ICE raids, those are the two things that come up, and neither one of them was an ICE raid. So, but they're running on fear. They're fear mongering, and I said that at the one debate, and it'll probably come up again today. I'm tired of fear mongering. We need to run on issues that matter to the people, not try to scare them into voting for you. It's a pretty sad state of affairs when we got to scare the voters into voting for us. I don't want to scare anybody into voting for me. I want you to see where we're at and give me a chance to fix it. I only got 10 months. And if I don't do what I say I'm going to do, then you can elect someone else next year. But I have heard from a lot of people that the Democrats are talking about doing that just for that reason, just so that they can have a new primary, that they didn't like the candidates that were put before them, and that gives them a chance to have a new primary in 10 months. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. But I do know this: if I get put into Washington, I'm going to work my butt off to get resources back to Arizona, to show Arizona that they elected the right person. And that's the change that I'm talking about.
Good close there. I'm going to get back to talking about Democratic voters that you have made a very concerted effort to try to get not just the Democratic voters, but also third-party voters, and I will get to that in just a second. But my next question is about the making Arizonans safe again. So if you're not working like using fear-mongering to try to get voters, can you explain a little bit, like, what are two aspects of that? The one, how are you going to make Arizonans safe again? And two, what's the again that we're pointing to? When was the last time that Arizonans were safe that you want to return to?
I grew up in this town, and let me tell you something, and I can't even remember the little girl's name now, but I remember a little girl disappeared. I was in my teens, and the whole city was upset, and they were trying to find her. Neighborhoods were out trying to find this girl, and it was the first time that I realized that we'd never had something like that happen in Tucson. I mean, it just never happened in Tucson. This was a small town. It's gotten massive, but it was still a small town mentality. And this town still has, well, it's beginning to lose it, but we're still the biggest small town you'll ever find. And that's why we know everybody. Okay? The crime I'm talking about that's happening has a lot to do with the drugs and the homelessness. The Walgreens are closing everywhere. I looked at the list. Walgreens was planning on closing some of their stores. The stores that are closing in CD7, on Wetmore, on Princeton, Flowing Wells, on 12th Avenue, there's two of them on 12th that closed. These Walgreens were not on their list of stores that were going to close. They closed because they couldn't afford to stay open with the theft that was going on in their stores, so they just shut them down. That's part of it. It's like the Food City's closing because they can't support the theft that's happening. They have the same thing happening over Ajo, and these camps set up around these stores and they just rob them. Well, when I talk about making Tucson safe again, cleaning up our homeless is a big part of making us safe again. And ultimately, if I focus on stopping the drugs and I get a program established that actually gets the homeless back on their feet and working in the community, Arizona will become safe again. While I'm on that, I tried to do the John Valenzuela Youth Center. I did the church over on 12th Ave. You guys posted it. I did the church. My company did. I didn't. My guys, and we brought 12 other businesses in, and we did $30,000 worth of work on this church. And that is because the community needs something like that in it so that we can start bringing our children upright so they have a place to go. And then I went to do the John Valenzuela Youth Center. Don Edwards was donating all the paint because Sherwin Williams donated the paint for the church. Don Edwards, I asked them if they wanted to donate the paint to the John Valenzuela Youth Center. Don Edwards said, tell us how much you need. Tucson Roof Coating was going to donate all the roof coating for their roof, which was leaking. Said, just let us know how much you're going to need. I had computers, the vets up in Sierra Vista got a bunch of computers. They wanted to give to the John Valenzuela Youth Center for the kids. I'm pulling the community together to do things, and the other side, the Democrats, stopped me from doing it.
How?
They wouldn't let me go over and do the measurements to measure everything. I'd gone over and talked to them. They were all about me doing it. James Valenzuela, he's a friend of mine. He's the one that asked me if I would do something like that when I did the church at his brother's building, because it's named after his brother, John Valenzuela, who saved the children. Some girls that were being molested in the community. He got shot and killed. So we went to do that, and politics got in the way. So we weren't unable to go fix the roof, which was leaking, bring the computers to the kids to use. And I wasn't doing it as Butierez for Congress. I was doing it as Butierez painting.
Mm.
So, which, either way, it's still Butierez. So they were,
But,
yeah. So
but like you weren't doing it as.
yeah, but I've been working in the community, and that's something that's winning over a lot of people. And I was talking to, what's his name, John McLean. He does a podcast. He's talking to me. He goes, I said, yeah, I wouldn't be. I'm thinking that this might turn into an upset on election night. He goes, oh, it won't be an upset. He goes, when you win, nobody's going to be surprised.
So you are fairly confident, seems.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about this. I really do. It's going to be a nail biter. I don't think it's going to be a landslide victory for either. I just think it's going to be very close. I got 20,000 Democrats voted for me last time. I have more supporters than that from the Democratic Party this time. I have not stopped campaigning. I've got a lot of churches behind me, and that are Democrats. So
How are you working to court the Democratic and third party vote?
because I'm just a common sense man, I'm not running on anybody with anybody. I'm not. They call me a Trump supporter. Yeah, I support everything Trump's done. I think he's done amazing things. Do I like the way he talks? No. A lot of people say you need to talk like Trump. Why would I talk like Trump? I'm not Trump. I'm Daniel Butierez, born and raised in this community, and what Trump wants to do is different than what I want to do. What Trump's doing for other areas is different than what CD7 needs. CD7 is different than all other districts. We're not the same. We have different needs. We have different traditions, different beliefs. We are a Southwestern community. We have old traditions. I grew up in a Hispanic family, Mexican family, and we have some really neat traditions in our family. So, and that's all across CD7.